Hey, welcome back to the table. It's a new day. So I believe we left off with the turn getting ready to start in this situation. We finished the AI round, which it's funny how it doesn't always work out this way. But right now we basically have a round where we go and then a round where the AI is going. And this is pretty common in a coin game for it to work out this way. Now just remember that these guys have a priority card that they can play. It's a pivotal event, is the word I was looking for. They will only play it if it's in this situation where they're eligible and they're not eligible. Remember, that was one of the conditions. So as long as they're together like this, the Scotty will not play their card. And it probably is worth pausing and making sure we understand when do the other cards kick in. So I'm going to grab the Saxon one real quick here without destroying components. The Saxon one has to have at least 15 renown, and that's their resources. That's this chart here. Okay, so their little black cube needs to be, or black disc here, needs to be past 15. They're currently at 0. So they're nowhere close. Now what does it do? What it does is it removes, it's like a revolt. So the Federati markers get removed from all Saxons and up to 3 regions. And then 1 prosperity, because they basically get looted. And then they do a battle with the shield wall against any Britons that are in that space. Now, I will tell you this is the weakest one in the game. And in some respects, it might even be poorly designed. I don't want to criticize the designer because I know he had the best of intentions with this. The reason I don't like it is basically every player in the game knows about it. And so if you never hire Saxon Federatis, this will never happen. So basically you can neuter the Saxon player by never allowing them to play their pivotal event card. Now, with that being said, in the multiplayer games I've played, the Saxons have won every time. And now granted, that's a whole 2 times that I've played multiplayer of this. The Saxons are a very powerful group, and it is pretty easy to get their objectives. So arguably speaking, the designer did a fantastic job because they don't need a pivotal event to change their game. But as long as we never hire any Saxon Federati, we basically neuter them from ever playing this card. So now, there is one reason to play this card, and that is with the pivotal event, you get to go first. See that? So sometimes you may want to play this card and you're like, screw the event, I just want the turn order. That is a possibility. And now how does the pivotal event work? Like, for example, right now we're going to take a turn using this event. But a pivotal event is a contraire mon frere kind of thing, where that card would then trump this one, and it would now be inserted over top of this, and we would play that card and resolve it, and then we would continue the normal game after that point. So that's how the pivotal events work. It's not too groundbreaking, but the Scotty one is crazy, because the Scotty one, they get to do a free raid with all kinds of barbarians. It's like a total mad rush, and it's all free. They don't have to pay anything. And then I think the Saxons get to do free raids on top of it. So basically everybody's free raiding, and we just get destroyed. It is a perfect thing to play when you know that red or blue is on the verge of winning, which, by the way, blue is just finally not at the victory condition. The thing that you want to consider, because there is a way to win with blue by the end of the first epoch, so very early in the game, you can win with blue, the Civitatis, you have to have enough wealth to move this over, and then of course just have enough British control to win the game. And you can see that their British control is right on the line there. So if they can just take control of one region or space, or one population, they're back in the winning numbers. They just have to figure out a way to move this over. And you can see it's wealth minus prestige needs to be greater than or equal to 10. The prestige right now is 4, the wealth is 0. So they would need 14 wealth. And they can do that by doing actions that convert resources into wealth. that's something to very strongly consider. It's just that it's not as easy as it may seem. But that's something you got to very much keep in mind. All right, so the Civitatis, their pivotal event is if there's no Roman rule. So we need to get at least to autonomy before they can ever play this. And then what they get to do is they get to add 9 of those dark blue cubes, which are a pretty strong army. They're much better than militia. And they get added to available. They don't even get added to the game. Right now they're unavailable. Well, are they unavailable? Yeah, not yet in play. So they get added to the game in the available, but they're not going to be on the board. Then each of 5 hills regions with British control place a hill fort in a vacant site and one of those dark blue cubes. And then it's an automatic shift to civilian dominance. So they don't need to have the wealth. It automatically shifts over, which is what they need to win. And then from here on out, the hills are home terrain for them. And then they get epoch round revenue from hill forts instead of towns. So they're basically converting to be a hill fort nation, I guess, for lack of a better term, or faction. And then the Duke. They have to have at least 5 prestige and no Roman rule. So again, this is later in the game. Old King Cole, if no fragmentation, divide prestige by 4, round up. Then Imperium to fragmentation. So basically, this is forcing fragmentation. And then add +10 Duke resources and any out-of-play cavalry beyond 5 to the casualties. Out-of-play, of course, is gone forever, whereas casualties you can get back. And it may trump the blue pivotal event card. They can trump each other if needed. Excuse me. Oh. So when I played a multiplayer game, the player was trying to do this to... they were trying to get as fast as they could to be able to play this card because fragmentation was what they were planning for. So they spent most of the game building up their red resource marker. It didn't work out well for them. They lost. But it was definitely a neat strategy, and I think that's some of the tension that you'll see in a multiplayer game that the solo game may not give you. And especially when I see people play all sides, I mean, you got to be really schizophrenic to be able to do it. But there's a lot of ways to play this game, where red and blue are collaborating, or where red and blue are from the day one, the first turn, they're not collaborating. The barbarians are going to capitalize either way. If they're collaborating, I think the barbarians actually have a harder time. When they're not collaborating, that's of course when the barbarians can really take advantage of them. But it's an interesting, that's what makes this game fun. Okay, so let's look at our event again and take our turn. So this one is useless to us. We can lower a faction's renown by 10 to a minimum of 5. The Scotty have 6 and they have 0. So we would be able to reduce this by 1. That's just not worth playing at all. And then here, select a town where there's a Saxon warband. Remove that town and add 1 refugee marker to the Civitatis. The problem is there is no warband where there's a town. There is a warband here, but just as a reminder, that is a hill fort, not a town. So anyways, this is a useless event for all parties. So it's not helpful to us, it's not helpful to them. So now we look at the next one, and this next one, if I remember correctly, this is all about the ransoms. So it might be nice to delay to get a -1 to ransom rolls, but I don't know if it's worth it per se. Obviously, green would benefit the most from it, and nobody else really does. So I think for now, we probably want to just take our turn. Blue does get to go first, and we have a conundrum. So blue has been waiting and waiting and waiting to finally get to do a full action. And so right now we could try to do a trade, and you can see there that we have 14 towns on the board, so we'd make 14 bucks, right? So we could try to do that. But then you have rule or invite. So here's the thing, we need to get refugees. So the rule, actually here it is, rule lets you pay 5 resources and discard 1 available refugee marker to add +1 population to the board. This is very important for blue. It's the most important thing, actually. It's the biggest priority of all for them right now, is they want to get the population back on the board. Population is important to them, and it actually causes their marker to go back into the winning condition. And they need resources, and so what's really cool is you can do a trade which will let you do a rule. The other one is muster, gives you a rule, or actually march as well. So there's 3 of the actions let you do rule. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do a command plus feat. The feat, of course, is the most important thing that blue wants. And so the command is going to be trade. So we're going to get 1 resource per space for prosperity. So we're going to add 1 British resource or 1 Britain resource per town. Then up to 2 selected spaces within Britain control, I can pay 1 resource to add prosperity equal to population. Okay, the prosperity doesn't benefit blue that much. It's actually benefiting red. Now, this is where it gets a little quirky, because since we're co-oping it and I'm controlling both sides, I may want to do this just to help red out. But let's just assume I'm putting one of these white markers everywhere there's a town. Okay, I'm not going to bother doing that, but that's what we're doing. And so everywhere there's a town, these are towns, by the way, we're going to be collecting a resource. And as I pointed out, way over here, you can see that there's 14 towns on the board. We can easily tell without having to count. So we're going to get 14 resources. Now it says that in 2 spaces, I can pay 1 resource to add prosperity equal to the population. So where would I want to do that? So for example, this one here has a prosperity of 3, but they only have room for 2 more. Okay. Now here's the question. Can I do a feat before I do the command? Ooh, why don't I remember the answer to that question? This is a basic coin question. I think they're all this way. This is nothing special about this game. And give me a second. Oh, and of course they don't have it in the section. I was looking at the sequence of play section and it's not in there. Oh, I really want to find this answer. It says you complete all execution of commands, feats, and events. All right, so let me look further here. Okay, so it's saying you select everywhere that a command is going to be done, and then you choose the order of the commands. Oh, come on. And then they list all the different commands, but they didn't. Oh, Jiminy Christmas. What's going on here? I'm only 15 minutes in. So, faction executing command, choose one of the 4 commands listed and selects one or more spaces to be involved in all actions before resolving any. Commands and feats, including spaces where pieces are yet to arrive. Select a given space only once for a given action. Commands usually cost resources, The executing faction choose the order of the spaces in which the command is resolved and the friendly pieces affected once target an enemy. Mark spaces. So I'm going to go on a limb and say you could do the feat first, because it says you place out your commands and your feats. And here it's saying the commands use white pawns and the feats use gray pawns, which is fine. But it says you choose the order in which the command is resolved. Now, I would argue that the command is specifically this left side, but the feat, like for example, this one is in any location that has British control. It doesn't have to be the same location as a command. So we're going to treat the feats as if they're commands for this purpose. And so I'm going to assume I can do in any order. And so why is this important? Why am I going through all this rigmarole? The reason is the feat is going to increase the population here, and then I will be able to add more cubes. So what I want to do is I'm going to mark the 2 spaces that I'm going to increase prosperity. This is going to be 1, and then my my rule, I can do up to 3 spaces with British control. I'm going to be increasing the population of that spot. Now the other one I'm going to increase population of is this spot. So I'm going to do both of those, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's where I'm going to add add the resources back. So where am I going to add resources back? Right now, this is a very strong zone. Like, we have a lot of strength there, but the population is low because they ravaged it. And so I'm thinking I want to go somewhere else to increase the and the place I think I want to go is, I'm thinking either here or this Dobrije place. Because they have room for 2 population and 2 growth. So I think I will do I'm going to do Dobrije there. Okay, so what is it that I just decided to do? Rule lets you amass wealth, which arguably speaking is what they need to do to try to win the game. So I can convert 2 resources into 1. But if you remember during the epoch phase, I actually get to do a 1-to-1 conversion. So this is a more wasteful time, but you can increase your wealth, and you need a lot of wealth, and you can only do half your towns during the epoch. So I can only do 7 total wealth conversion during the epoch phase. So I need to find a way to get probably 10 more. So I could try to do that here. I can convert 2 resources into 1 wealth. And that's for each space. So I can only do this 3 times, right? So I'd be able to spend 6 resources for 3 wealth. Well, what I'm thinking of doing is I'm going to convert the refugees twice. So for 2 of the 3 times, I'm going to do refugees. And then for the 3rd one, I'm actually going to make a